Okay, the format for the show is there's a few topics I want to hit of conversation. The first one is what is your current gaming experience? What are you currently playing right now, EverQuest wise? What is your current experience? Then I want to ask you about your earliest EQ memory, and then I want to know what keeps you playing. What is it that attracts you and engages you today, 2020, end of 2024, December 28th, 2024, to continue playing a game that came out 25 years ago?
All right, so let me explain what I'm doing now. I am on Project 1999. I have a character named Questin. He's a bard. He is an officer in a guild called Nova. We're a casual raiding guild. Right now, it's double XP, double loot weekend, and I'm having a great time doing that. Um, so I'm not really doing much raiding right now. We do have an arena tonight at KO Drakal. Um, but other than that, we're not really doing much because it's the holidays and we're all taking advantage of this of double XP, double loot. Um, what was the next my next earliest memory?
Well, no, let's stay here for a second. So
Okay,
the guild is called Nova, and you guys are on
Nova.
P99 Green.
Correct. We are on P99 Green. We are a casual raiding guild. A lot of really cool folks in the guild. We all get along great, have a great time, no drama. No big issues as of yet. And I'm having a blast. It makes me want to log in every single day. Is For me, that's what the draw of EverQuest is. It's the community. It's building a guild with people you actually like, and doing it however you can. It's not necessarily for us about progress. It's more about building a team we enjoy playing with.
So what brings you back in is the I guess the fellowship and the creation of this guild of the people that you're playing with working together.
Correct. And plus the game mechanics are just constantly fun. It's you know what to expect. It doesn't really change. The game is challenging depending on what class you play and how good you are and you know the mechanics and things like that. I think there's so much to do in the game that it requires so much effort from a team that many people can't do the content that um, that is accessible by that type of power you need. You need good people with you, and back in the day, I never got to do this stuff. So to be able to do it now is pretty special. I really enjoy it, and I that's how I can play a 30-year-old game.
So what I'm curious about what happens with how do you go from just playing on creating a character on P99, leveling him up, playing the transition from doing that into helping to build and create a guild. How does something like that happen?
Well, I didn't help create the guild. I was just a member. I was talking to the guild leader, and we got along okay. And I was guildless at the time, and he liked my name, so he said, "Hey, do you want to join this guild?" And he explained to me what they were about, and I said, "Yeah, dude, no problem. That sounds great." I don't like raiding guilds, hardcore raiding guilds, because it's like you're a cog in a wheel. You're kind of treated like shit. You don't really make many friends unless you put forth the effort to make the friends, and a lot of the people there are. They live and breathe EverQuest. Like I have a life. A lot, they have lives too, but it just seems like EverQuest is more important to them than it is to me. Sure, I love it. I enjoy it. I play it any chance I can, but I'm not willing to, um, you know, leave anything in my personal life unattended to in order to play the game. So we get what targets we can get, but the main thing is we have a good time. Like as an example, this holiday season we had a guild giveaway, and we gave away I think about 50K in gear, just like with random rolls. We just gave it out to whoever rolled the highest. Mains took priority, so the mains would roll, and then if nobody, anyway, long story short, we had a great time. It lasted about 3 hours. I think it's the second time this year I had a few drinks, and so I was just drinking what is it, Woodford Reserve, and talking to Haymond and Scar and Yugamai, all my other friends there, and we were giving out gear, and everyone was having a great time, cracking jokes, and that was probably the most fun I've had in the game in a while. Was just doing that. Just the spirit of the game is helpfulness, and it works really well with the Christmas spirit or the holiday spirit, and yeah.
That sounds great. Why the bard? Why the bard?
The Bard is the most active class in my opinion. You're pressing the most buttons per minute for sure. You're basically a jack of all trades. They're extremely powerful if played well. Um, and I just love the attention it takes to be able to play one. Because and then also I get to impress a lot of people because most bards they know how to play, but they only play like 3 or 4 songs. But I like to try to get as many as I can in there, and I try to see what's happening in the group as it happens so I can react to it quickly. Because as you know, the bard's main role is crowd control. So if you're a bard and you're not paying attention to what's going on around you and you're just serving as a mana battery, you're not filling your role. You got to be a mana battery, crowd control, haste, DPS. Not DPS, but support the DPS with your haste songs and your. You could also be supporting a tank group with your AC song, your regen song, your haste song, your damage shield song, and doing crowd control. So it's just like it's you're doing multiple things at once.
While also leading a group, or are you able to type and play and all
Oh
do all
yeah,
that?
yeah, I can. After some practice, you can. It kind of takes some time learning to play the bar.
Yeah, that's what I found. I play on the TLP server mostly, on the Everquest servers, and I found that it's really difficult for me to bard, like to have mez duties while I'm also the group leader. It's like,
Oh yeah, yeah. It
you
it
know,
can it can be, but in P99, the people who've been playing this game on this server probably chances are they're not noobs. You know what I mean? So a lot of the times people know, which dungeon is where and what mobs are in the dungeon. We do get some new people who haven't played this version of EverQuest, and that's kind of what Nova is. A lot of people in Nova are people who haven't played Velius. They've played Plains of Power, they've played Luckland, but they haven't played when the game was stuck in Velius or Kunark, and it's a different game by then. Like that, it is just different. I think it's P99 is the most pure version of EverQuest you can play, in my opinion. I think it's the most classic you can get. I think it's the purest version of EQ you can get. There's not all that, chronos and instant portals to Luckland. You need a druid in P99. You need a wizard. You need to have friends. You need to know people to be able to get anywhere and do anything. And it's just building a community. It's basically a chat room as well. So it's like, I don't know. Without the community, the game wouldn't be as good because the community is so good. And if you go to a game like World of Warcraft or another MMO, the community isn't nearly as generous or kind or fulfilling as a community like Project 1999, simply because of, I guess, the age demographic that plays it, the maturity level of people who play it, the patience level of people who play it, because this is a game where you need to be patient. It can take you months to get something you want, especially if it's like off a high end monster. And while you're waiting for that to happen, you're building relationships. You may not even get it. It's about the journey.
man, yeah. Yeah, that's the thing that's been interesting to me. Why I wanted to start this show is I don't know. I mean, I'm 37 years old and I've got a nice gaming setup around me, and yet I cannot seem to escape playing these games that were created 20, 25 years ago.
I'm in the same boat. I still play. I mean, I play modern games too, but I've played through Baldur's Gate 2 countless times, Planescape Torment, Fallout 1 and 2, EverQuest. I mean, I'm constantly playing old stuff, and I don't know why, but it just hits that itch in me where some game, yeah, a lot of games have the same things. Like Baldur's Gate 3 is a great example. It's just the next level of those type of games. But a lot of other games are more story driven these days, I feel like the days of the RPG, the classic RPG, are they're over, and they've basically figured out what they're going to do to make their bread. Like big game companies. So what makes money isn't patience. What makes money isn't building a friendship and community around your character. What makes money now is nonstop action. Minor microtransactions, instant gratification type games. And while that has its place, I just don't find it to be appealing to at least our age demographic. I'm in my 30s. I'm 33. About to be 34 in February, and you know, it's just a different feel. I think. I. But then again, you look at a game like Astrobots. My son's playing that. He's 6, and it's a completely innovative, beautiful, colorful, wonderful game that has all the content at your fingertips once you spend the money. So there are still great products out there. It's just um, the MMO scene right now is I think it's dying a slow death, and it sucks because MMOs are my favorite type of games to play.
Yeah, the same here. I mean, it makes me think about my earliest EverQuest experience. And yeah, we could talk about that now because it was, you stand at the character select screen. You've got these options. You've got these points that you can place in different stats. You log into the world, and you're just basically on your own having to figure out what's going on. There's no real direction, and
Nope.
you have to I had to communicate with the people. First of all, maybe it's because I was so astounded by the fact that there were real life people playing these heroes or these characters. That was so impressive to me because I hadn't actually seen something like that on that scale in this virtual realm of wizards and sorcery and dragons and I didn't, it was so new and interesting that it was unique for what it was as it was. And then I had to, then you have to figure out how to navigate through, and you're talking to people just like I would if I was lost in downtown Atlanta or downtown Memphis or wherever, I'd have to ask people where to go, you
Yeah,
know?
you would, and it's the same way in the Piranhas,
Yeah. So
especially
yeah.
in 1999.
Oh yeah, yeah. And nowadays everything is, it's almost feels like games are playing us rather than us logging in somewhere to play the game.
Agreed. Yeah, the games basically play themselves these days. It's also it's not such a bad thing. I'm not saying all these modern games are bad. I'm just saying they're different. And I don't know. It feels I want a game that requires patience and sort of a slow progression over time based on the relationships you make. I mean, and it just doesn't seem like games are being made that way. Even World of Warcraft, modern World of Warcraft, isn't that. You can do the whole game by yourself. I mean, it's just like, well, not that's not true, but you can do a raid finder. Yeah, so you don't need a guild anymore. You don't need a set of friends. You can just do the raid finder, do the group finder, and do it that way. And I think that's sort of a shame.
So
If you want, you go ahead. Sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you want to talk about my first memory with EverQuest, um, I can tell you that too.
Well, where did you first hear about it? When did you first see it? What was your first encounter with it?
You brought it home. You just got done with your bar mitzvah, I think it was. And if anyone didn't know, we're brothers. Adam's my older brother, and and you brought it home, and you had a new computer, and I saw you playing it one night. It was close to my birthday, and I was like, "What is this game?" There were real people playing it with you, and you were outside of Freeport, I think, and you made a paladin, and I was like, "You can make a character." I'd never heard of being able to make a character in a video game before that was yours that you could name. And so for my birthday, I asked you if you'd let me play the EverQuest, and you said yes. And so I made a half elf outside Surefall Glade, and I was just in a world of wonder. I couldn't believe I could freely move around in this game, go anywhere I wanted, talk to anyone I wanted. These were real people I was seeing. How hard it was. I couldn't even kill a rat without almost dying. And I was like, how the heck are people level 10? I'm only level 1. And then that was just a taste. I got it for like an hour. And then we shared an account after that, and it was just a lot of fun. I just, back in 1999, I was 8 years old. And so as an 8-year old playing a game, I just learned to read too. I just learned to read because I remember I was really happy I was able to play EverQuest because just like I was happy I was able to watch Nosferatu and actually read the screens. That was my kind of my first memory of being able to read and being happy about it. So
Wait,
those
wait,
are
wait, wait. Your first memory reading was watching the black and white 1920s classic Nosferatu?
it was my first memory of being glad I knew how to read. It wasn't the first thing I read. It was the first time I remember being like, "Oh, sick! I can read. I'm glad I can read because I can
Really?
watch this movie."
It was for Nosferatu, the
That's
original?
right. Yeah, because I'd see it at Blockbuster. I'd see it at Blockbuster, and the cover always creeped me out. So finally, I rented it one night, one Friday night, and I watched it, and I was just like, "Wow, that was great." And I think horror movies are like my favorite movies to watch these days. I probably like I love them, and I think that might have a lot to do with it too. So it's just a matter. Plus, we can't talk about EverQuest without talking about the nostalgia of being young and being in this world. Um, I'm talking about our real world and not knowing how everything works, and then going into a game world and being able to figure it out without much, with help and everything. But I felt like I was more in control in EverQuest than I was in my real life. That was another thing.
That's interesting. I had never looked at it that way.
Yeah, I mean, you have so much more control. Like as a child, as an 8-year-old, the 8 to 10 years old is when I was 8 to 11 or something like that was when I was playing. At that age, you don't have freedom, And in EverQuest, you have the freedom. You can go anywhere you want, and that was another big reason I loved it so much and still do. I mean, even today, like I'm a father, I'm a husband. I work for a family business. I have all these responsibilities, and in EverQuest I have some too. But I choose the responsibilities I want in EverQuest.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah,
So you're 8 years old. You're watching Nosferatu. You're playing EverQuest when you can because I'm sure I was playing it too.
you were. We would fight over the computer all the time, and it was
And
your computer. so,
yeah.
so yeah, I wish they just would have got me my own computer, but that didn't happen until I was like 13 or 14.
So you're playing it. How far did you get? Like what was take me
In
from
'99.
yeah, take me from 8 years old to when you finally have your own account, if that ever
Okay,
happened.
I don't think it happened for a while. So when I was 8, I had a level, the highest level I ever reached from I think from '99 to 2001 until Lucklin came out was level 13. I would play it one night and I would get like a couple percent and then I would die 3 times. And then I would and then I would play it for a couple percent and then I would die 3 times every session. So I was level 13 for like 2 years. And my goal at the time, my illustrious goal was to collect a set of bronze armor. That's all I wanted was some bronze armor. I wanted the plate graphic. And I never did.
Oh,
I never got to accomplish that. But I still had a great time doing it. On my second character, and here's a pretty cool story. This is around when Lucklin came out. I must have been 11. I had a character named X Star. He was a Shadow Knight, and I was leveling in the Paladol Caverns one day, and I came across a level 60 Shadow Knight named Aktar, and I started talking to him, and I didn't know how to play the class. He saw me killing bandits, and was like, "Why aren't you fear kiting? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you snaring? All this stuff." And I was a noob. I didn't know what I was doing. And so he showed me the ropes. And after that, he was kind of like my mentor. Like we would joke, and I would say, "You're my master. I'm your apprentice," kind of like the Sith Lord. And I ended up taking his surname. His surname was Bloodscale, and so I made myself Bloodscale, and we were the two Bloodscales on the server. Um, but that character met an untimely fate, and I lost touch with that guy. But he was a great, great mentor for the game. And just the fact that you could have a mentor-student relationship in EverQuest as if we were these knights was so appealing to me. And I,
but
I remember even in real life stuff, when our grandmother died, I was really upset and I logged on and I told Akhtar about it. And we talked about it. Um, we talked about it and it helped me. And the guy was a really cool guy. I don't even know how old he was or anything. He was just a stranger in a game. But he actually, I remember him. Like I remember him as a person,
see,
and
that's
that's
what's
strange.
that's what's so the turning like I guess the narrative around me my whole life has been playing video games is a waste of time. It's not getting you anywhere, this and that. And it's totally changed now. I don't see anything different between my experiences in game versus my experiences in reality. I see them being just as valuable and as I don't see them being as much different, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big difference in the sense that you can't touch what you're seeing, and you don't feel the environment of where you're in. It's a game, but I know what you're trying to say. I get that. It's like there is a community in this game, and the community is living and breathing, and it changes, and guilds come, guilds go. Groups come, groups go. You could go in a zone at 3 in the morning and find a group that's just getting done for the night, and you'll see the next one coming in. It's just like a constant rotating door. And the people who play P99 are people like me. They're just people who love this game, love the community, love EverQuest, and they just don't want to. They just play it when they can because it's a hobby. It really is a hobby. It's almost like having models or something. Like you're building models, you're collecting them, you're putting them on, your shelf or whatever. I'm building my character. I'm building my guild. I'm getting equipment and putting it on my person. And these characters end up as like a museum, a testament to my time put into the game. And if you're putting time in a game, you damn well better enjoy the people you're doing it with. And you better well, enjoy the journey. Because if you don't enjoy the journey, there's no point. Some people, EverQuest just isn't for them. It's boring. And I get that. Like a couple of my real life friends, they played RuneScape. And I thought that was boring. I was like, why aren't you guys playing EverQuest? And they were like, how are you not playing RuneScape? They're all catching lobsters for 10 hours. Like, I didn't get it. Running around in party hats and taking people to the wilderness and tricking them and jacking their shit. Like, it's just like, yeah, I mean, it sounds all right, but like, I don't know. I was an EverQuest boy.
Yeah, one day hopefully I can understand the RuneScape thing. I watch RuneScape YouTubers because I'm just curious. I'm interested.
It's interesting. It is interesting.
But yeah, it's the ability to step into an environment, like at least for me, like I don't know why it is. I like the thing I love about EverQuest so much is I like talking about EverQuest. I like talking about games that I'm playing, and the community is all, because they're on that game, we all have a shared interest, which is this thing. It makes it easy for me to connect.
Easy, very easy, because it's a shared common interest. And you know what? If I met somebody who played EverQuest in real life, I'd probably be friends with them immediately based on that, because we'd have so much to talk about.
Right. Okay. So people are wondering what happened. I'm sure they're wondering what happened to Ektar. It was me.
X-Star? Yeah.
Ektar. I don't know why I did it. I think it came to mind now. I deleted your character. He was
Yeah.
what was he? Level 19?
Level 21. Level 21.
I woke up one day and in my mind, what I'm seeing right now may or may not be true. I think I was sick of sharing the computer.
Yeah, you were. I mean, I get it. I was always on you. I was always begging, constantly. Anytime you were off the computer, I was like, can I get on the computer? It would be annoying.
And it was horrible, and I felt terrible after it happened. It was very painful experience.
Yeah, I was upset.
I managed to shatter and shred the relationship that got you through our grandma's death
I also was married
on the game. That's right. You
on
lost
the
your
game.
wife.
I lost my wife. Actually, no, she left me for a higher level paladin. So
Okay.
you didn't do that. It's okay.
So how old were you when you got married in game, by the way?
So I was 8 years old or 9. That's top. Like at the max, I was 9 years old. I had met what I thought was a lady character named Lanane in the Kinos Hills. We were at those undead ruins, killing the undead together. And I don't know, we started talking, and I pretended like I was an older guy, obviously. And it might have been a dude. That I would give her gifts, my several silvers I had at the time. I'd give her like all the rusty swords so she could sell them. We would like role play as man and wife. It never got sexual, but it was definitely weird. And so we were gonna get married. We were gonna get married if I ever got to level 20. She out leveled me by far because I told you about how I would play. And one day I was in Kinos Hills and I looked at my friends list and I saw she was in the Piranhas, so I went out there to go meet her and surprise her. And she was with this higher level paladin, and they both had the same surname.
No.
Yeah.
Wait,
and I go,
what?
no. They both had the same last name.
Had you been married already?
No. I couldn't get married until I was level 20 because I couldn't take a surname.
Oh man.
And I was taking forever. She was already like level 28 or 30 or something. And I was like, no, how could you? And she was like, I'm sorry, you were just too slow. It's like,
no.
Yeah. Yeah. And it actually really upset me. You guys wanted to go to dinner one night, and we would talked about getting married. I thought we could do it at the time because I didn't know you had to be level 20. Found that out later that night, but I was begging not to go to dinner. I had a tantrum. I was crying. I was throwing stuff. I wouldn't leave your room. It was like I wanted to get married to this fake lady. That was
Well,
my
we don't
first.
know. We don't know if it was a man or not.
We don't, and that would have been my first wife.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great story. Okay, so let's go back to the timeline. So when do you get your first account? And when do you stop playing EverQuest for a bit?
I got my first. Well, I stopped playing EQ probably right when Planes of Power came out. I would say like right maybe a couple weeks after that. Honestly, it must have been when World of Warcraft came out. I would play on and off. I wouldn't play as much as I used to, but I would play on and off. But once World of Warcraft came out, me and all my real life friends started playing that and got severely addicted to it. And I didn't touch EverQuest again until I got out of the military and found Project 1999.
Okay, so what was the highest level you got to in original retail EverQuest?
I think the highest level I got to was probably level 23.
And that was Planes of Power.
No, that was Luckland. Um, that was X-Star. I got my own account and started a new character. Oh, I started Weemon. That's right. I started Weemon the Shadow Knight. He got to level 45 or something in Planes of Power.
Okay, so that was
Yeah.
the highest that you got.
That was the highest I got. Weemon was a gnome Shadow Knight. He got to about level 45. He had an Argent Protector. I remember his weapon because it was a sick weapon at the time for me.
Dude,
And
I remember the first time I mean, anytime I would see somebody with an epic weapon, but I saw the Paladin epic, like early
oh,
days,
Soulfire.
2000.
Yeah,
Dude, was so amazed,
it's
watch
an
staring.
amazing. Oh yeah, that's a cool graphic too.
And that's the thing too that's so great about these types of games is, or at least this game. I don't know if any other games really do it anymore, but you saw somebody with epic gear like that, like they were the real deal. Like it was, they didn't pay for that. They didn't have someone do it for them. It took hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours. They were legends, like literal breathing, standing, virtual legends.
They really were, man. There were server famous people who were famous on the server, people who were known for starting guilds and doing it, and people who were known for certain camps. I mean, that still goes on P99. Is like if you see somebody's name in a zone and it's somebody who you know camps a certain spot frequently, you know that spot's taken. So
Yeah.
yeah, it still goes on. Hey, can we take a quick break?
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, you can edit some stuff out, right?
Yeah, yeah, we're good.
Yeah, at least she's at the store and Asher's yelling my name. So let me just go check on him real fast.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, all good.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that.
No, it's good. I wanted to, so let's go back then. We'll come back to when you find P99 for the end.
Okay.
I want to get a timeline of your video game history. So, what was your first video game you ever played, and which were the games through the course of your life up until now that have had the biggest impact on you?
The first game I ever played, I can't remember because there were so many at the time. You had a Sega, and we had the Sega Channel, and so that's the first memory I have of playing games was on the Sega Channel. We were living in Oklahoma at the time, and I had never seen. I knew games existed. I knew they were great, but I had never actually experienced what it was like to play through any of them with any memory. So that's the first memory I have is playing through the Sega Channel, seeing all the crazy games you could just play, which was innovative as hell at the time. If you remember, that was crazy cool. That they managed to do that. And then on your birthday or on some holiday, dad bought you a Nintendo 64, bought us a Nintendo 64, and I remember the first game that I super got into was Super Mario 64. And I was on Bowser and I couldn't beat him. I didn't know how. I didn't know about the tail thing where you grab him by the tail and you spin him around and throw him at the mines. And so mom came upstairs because I was getting really upset. And she looked at the manual with me and she said, "Oh, see, look." And she read the manual. And luckily there was directions on how to beat Bowser in the manual. And she showed me how to do it. And I beat him, and it was a really triumphant moment for me personally. And it's a fun memory I have of mom, and also our cousin Jenny would come over and we would play Aladdin on the Sega together, and we'd play that frequently for a couple of hours. It was like what we did together, and yeah, it was just those are my earliest memories, and then of course. I went through the generations of all the gaming consoles. We typically got whatever console came out eventually, whether it was the PlayStation or the Nintendo or the Xbox or whatever it was. my favorite games to play were always on PC. I always felt like you could do more. There's usually console commands. There's just any game, most games that came out on console, you could get a similar game or the same game for PC. And it just seemed like the PC had more innovative games as well. And we didn't actually get a gaming PC until you got yours from your bar mitzvah. So I must have been around 8 or 9 when that happened. And I don't know. For a long time, I was a console gamer, but the fondest memory of a very impactful game for me that I still play and love to this day, every once in a while, is Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. That game was instrumental in building my taste for what kind of games I would like to play. It's not a role playing game, but it has a lot of role playing game elements and really good story for the time, great music. It was like a movie you could play, and that was what showed me the possibilities of what could be done. And then after that was Final Fantasy VII, which was a huge influence on what I saw games could do, and how they could tell a story. And I just knew that there was something to this. This wasn't going away. I love it too much, and that a lot in those days, a lot of people thought games were sort of like a fad, or they wouldn't get advanced enough to be able to compete with Hollywood or any of those things. That they wouldn't really make much money. But as we know, over time, completely flipped on its head. And now I feel like video games are going to be the main source of entertainment for anyone under the age of 20.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's where we're
I
at.
think I think so. I think I can say that relatively confidently. And that's great. I love it. I just hope that it doesn't become hyper, profit driven and people still make games because they love games. And I'm not seeing as many experimental games anymore. Like maybe I'm wrong about that. I mean, I only play mainstream games. I don't really play independent games, and I hear there's a lot of really great ones. But that's basically my opinion on it. And my
When do you remember when you first got gripped into a game where it was like it's all you thought about, it's all you wanted to do?
I think that would be EverQuest. That would have to be EverQuest because EverQuest, I would go to school and just wait for school to be over so I could play it whenever you were off. Or I would hope that you were busy with basketball practice, football practice, or whatever you were doing at the time, or playing with your friends, so that I could get on. I would hang around the house like Gollum and just wait.
That's right.
Yeah, I would
That's right.
hang
I
around.
remember that.
I wouldn't play with my friends because I wanted to play EverQuest. I would wait around. I'd have my friends sleep over and they would watch me play EverQuest and they would play RuneScape on another computer, or they would just watch me play EverQuest.
I
So yeah,
remember I'd forgotten like you were a shadow. You were an ever-present shadow in the hallways of our house, like
dude,
always
I
peeking
don't
around the
blame you.
corner, just like creeping up, taking a look in, walking away. And
I don't.
I hadn't thought about it. I'd constantly had this awareness that this kid wants what I'm doing right now all the time.
All the time. And I don't blame you for deleting my character. I must have been really annoying.
Dude, no, it was not the right move. I think everybody can agree. You don't delete someone's. Remember, I got my Beast Lord de-leveled.
Oh, de-leveled.
The
Yeah,
highest character I
right.
ever got in EverQuest before current times was Sabe, last name Urtooth.
Sabertooth.
He was 49 Beast Lord, and I gave my buddy Steven the account information because I'd stopped playing, and he was a GM. I remember I slept over at his house one night, and he showed me his GM account, and I was just flabbergasted because we were like 14, and they thought he was 19 or 18 or something, and he
Oh,
had
wow.
he had petitions he could pull up. He could go to the weird GM planet or island or
CS
whatever.
Home. Yeah, CS Home.
Yeah, he had all
Um,
access. And
I remember that guy.
yeah, so I trusted him. I just was like, when I stopped playing, I told him I'd stop playing, and he said, "Well, can I have your account?" And I said, "Sure." So when I logged on again, when Planes of Power came out, and I was gonna start playing again, and my Beast Lord was like level 9 in Neriac.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
he had camped him at the
What
guards
a
there.
jerk.
But
Why would
like,
he do that?
I don't. You see, that's the
Why do you
thing.
think he did
We've
that?
ta we've talked about this. I don't know, and I guess I was, I guess I wasn't. It didn't really bother me. Like I was
At
just
the
as
time it didn't. You weren't upset.
I wasn't
I
upset.
wasn't upset.
I was
I
more
was more curious.
yeah, astounded. Like, what would make somebody do this? I didn't,
Were you
I
guys still
couldn't
friends?
comprehend. I mean, I don't think we talked anymore or hung out anymore, but we didn't have like a friend breakup or anything. We just kind of went our different, I just did different things. Um,
Did you ask him why he did it?
I think I remember doing that because you encouraged me to. And I think the response I got was just something that didn't have much weight to it.
Uh,
So I don't know. I don't
Maybe he
remember.
doesn't even know why. Maybe he just felt like doing it.
Yeah, I don't know. Um,
So,
but anyway, so you're playing at EverQuest. You're thinking about it at school. You're hovering around me
yeah.
to play it.
Plus, I'd watch you play. I had no problem sitting there and watching you play. I enjoyed it, and yeah, I thought maybe that annoyed you too at the time.
So what happens next? When do you finally get full access to play as much as you want whenever you want?
It must have been when I was like 13 when I got my own computer. And at that time, I wasn't really playing it that much. I'd play it every once in a while, but I wasn't obsessed with it like I was during the Kunark and Delius days. There was a lot of other games like Half-Life 2 out at the time and things like that to keep me occupied. And then, like I said, once WoW came out, I took a long break on EverQuest. I almost forgot about it until I saw that there was a Project 1999 server, and once I saw that, it was like, I got to try this because it's in the era that I remember best. And so I tried it. And I've been playing on this server for about, I think, 8 years now, maybe nine.
So gaming has been a part of your life since EverQuest, basically.
Since the Sega Channel and Super Mario 64, but EverQuest really solidified my love for the genre.
Did you ever have a time in your life up until now where you took a long break from playing video games?
No, not really. I always did it. And it was especially crucial in the military because it was the only thing I could do to escape that shit. So no, I never really stopped playing games ever since I started. I really love them. Like I really look forward to playing them. You know, it's something to look forward to at the end of the day. I don't go out much, which is good in my opinion. My wife always knows where I am, and so yeah, and also me and my son are bonding through them too. I mean, I play games with him frequently, and we're buddies. It's just a really great thing.
Has it ever been a problem in your life?
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially in my teenage years, it was a big problem. I would shirk responsibilities and things like that. Things I don't do now, I would have done back then because I just didn't have the awareness of life and how important doing the things you have to do are. I would, as you know, I had some problems growing up, and I grew up, and now I don't have those same problems, but occasionally my wife gets upset because I play too much, and I'll have to slow it down. And it's just like anybody. You do too much of anything, someone's gonna get annoyed with you. I mean,
Right.
it's just the way it is. It's just something I like to do. So like, guys who come home and really like drinking or working on their car or whatever it is. That's my version of that. I like to come home, play a game for a little bit, and get off, handle the house till after dinner, put my kid to bed, and get on the game again if I can. But I also have other relationships I need to tend to, and so obviously those relationships are much more important than any game. So I'm going to prioritize those, but I make sure I do so and hope that at the end of the night I'll be able to get my personal time in, which I like to use to recently play EverQuest.
So a big thing for me was, I found out. So I found out I started playing EverQuest. So I didn't. So I had a long stretch with no gaming for about 10 years.
Yeah, I remember that.
Um, so I didn't play hardly any games. And then Melissa bought me this computer when we moved back to Georgia. And I remember I had the computer and um, waking up at like 4 in the morning, coming down here, turning it on, sitting at the desktop, and it was like I was in a portal and with an infinite possibilities of worlds I could enter.
Oh man, that sounds awesome. Because
It
you had
was
taken a break. You had so many
I
games that you had to check out.
Dude, I didn't, yeah, I didn't know, I hadn't played anything or had that ability in years. So I sat down and I just started like I started with Final Fantasy 14 and I was working at the warehouse at the time, so I was listening to podcasts all day and I started EverQuest, started thinking about EverQuest, and I got onto an EverQuest. I found an EverQuest podcast, one of my favorites of all time, called Forever Quest.
Oh,
And I'm
cool.
listening to these two dudes during COVID come back to P99. They hadn't played it since they were retail times, degenerates, 18 years old, shirking all responsibilities to try to raid Plane of Water. Like they hadn't touched the game since. And
Yeah.
they're sharing their experience each day of what happens when they log in. And it was like I was following these guys' adventure through this world that I'd forgotten about. And then this guy, Zaid, came on the show, and his attitude, his temperament, and his perspective was something I'd never heard, where it was like, when he wasn't I've always just been like glad to be in the world of EverQuest.
Yeah.
This guy was like going to be he was rating the highest level content, only interested in playing with like the best players and succeeding and doing things the fastest. I'd never heard a like I don't min max is a bad word to describe it because it was like leadership or something. It was like he just was intent at being successful and succeeding in this 25-year-old game.
Yeah. People,
And
he's a serious guy. I saw that episode.
yeah, and it just blew me away because I was like, I didn't know the game could be played like that. And then he started talking about how all the stuff, like I never dreamed of seeing dragons like Nagafin or fighting the gods in the planes of power. I didn't even think that was possible for me.
Me either. Me either. And that's why it's so fun to play as an adult and actually have goals in the game.
Right. And that's what brought me back into the game. After listening to that episode, and he had basically said, you know, you can do this content. You can see this stuff. If you join this server, it will happen. And if you join my guild, it will happen. So I was like, I'm in.
How can you say no?
How could you say no? I was like, I believe he believes that we could do it. So
Quick break again. 1 second. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man.
You're good. You can take as many breaks as you want.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Yeah, yeah.
appreciate
No,
it.
don't even
I just,
sweat it. Just say
thanks.
break and I can pause it.
Cool. We're going for an hour, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Perfect. Let's do it.
Okay, so I believe that he believed that we could do it, so I joined the crew, right? I joined the
Yeah.
Faceless Guild, and it was lit like there's been a lot of best times in my life. The 2 week trip from moving Melissa from Boston to Ortland, Portland,
Heartland Pork. Yeah.
across the country, maybe 3 weeks was like one of the best experiences of my life. Playing EverQuest at this time with the Faceless and with the Forever Quest crew was one of the highlights of my life. Like I had so much fun logging in. I played the Bard, O'Doyle, and I got to the Sleeper's Tomb. I went in the freaking Sleeper's Tomb. Like,
Oh, sweet.
you know what I mean? Like stuff that I
Yeah.
never thought was, and I played so hard and I was obsessed, constantly thinking, constantly playing. I was a stay-at-home dad at the time, so it was perfect. And I burned myself out, man. I went so hard in the paint that one day I was in a raid and we were doing Planes of Power and it was like 4 in the morning. And I just, an awareness happened. I was not enjoying myself. And
Mm,
I hadn't realized it, that I wasn't having fun.
mm.
And that's when the flicker of the flame burned out. And then I would log in occasionally. Just it was weird that you mentioned before about like why you play. I would log in just to see Doomsday's name, Destro's name, um, Grasshopper's name. You know, I would just log in, and I remember I joined a raid just to be part of the group. That was the only reason I was on. I didn't care about loot, didn't care about gear. I wanted to see what we were doing, but yeah, it was just weird. It was the connections that brought me
It's the
back.
connections. Me too. It's always about the connections, and you always, if you take a break, you're gonna make new connections as long as you play the game.
Yeah, so nowadays for me it's well let me ask you. You go to your what brought you to P99? How'd that happen?
I don't remember how I heard about it. I heard about it somehow, obviously. And once I found out about it, I spent, I'd say, a full day trying to get it to work. And when finally figured out, I logged on and just the look of it, just the loading screen. I was like, oh my God, I'm back. And just ever since seeing it again from the nostalgia, at first it was all nostalgia. It was like playing a museum. And then I got into things I'd never done in the game before that because I was 8 or 9 or whatever at the time. And after that, it was just like, I have so much to explore, and I still am today. There's still things I'm doing that I still find to be very fun, and yeah, that's kind of how I learned about that server.
You remember Michael Shenanigans YouTube
Yeah.
channel?
Oh yeah, he was great.
Oh, dude, that's really what it was. There's that when you talk about nostalgia, that's those videos are what make me think about because you're like, what is this? Why is this here? Why is this
Yeah,
the way it is?
exactly. Yeah, the investigation videos, the mysteries.
What is this Kano's clock tower? Why is it always stuck on this time?
It's great. And then he has a whole fire beetle video about all the fire beetles.
The
Yeah.
click necks and the Kirk tacks.
Click next. Yeah, that's
Uh,
right.
so okay, so when do you get into heavy into P90? Because you have been my source for P99. I mean, it's a different vibe over there.
It
When did
is.
you really get into it? When did you start rating?
I started rating probably, I'd say, a year after I started playing it again. And then I got really into it at the time is because I was living in Florida with my wife's family. Um, I had just gotten out of the military, and my wife and I were separated at the time, but we got back together, which is the best decision I ever made. So I went in. She lived with me in North Carolina for a long time, so I decided I want to go and live with her instead of anyway. So I lived with her. I was in her parents' garage with her. I must have been 24 or 25, something like that. And I discovered, well, we've been married 13 years, but I must have been 23 or 24. I was a little younger, and it's hard living with your in-laws. And so as an escape, I'd play Everquest. And at first it was just kind of like, it's a fun game to play. I didn't have any games there at the time other than my Xbox. And I just got super into it. Super into it.
Um, so you're getting involved in the politics of what's going on the server and stuff?
Yeah, yeah.
Are you max level?
What my main character is max level. I don't get into the server politics because although I'm an officer in the guild, we're not at the level where we're in the UN. They have a United Nations for guilds basically on that server
The
where
guild that you were in back then.
oh, back then, yes, back then we were dealing with server politics. I was in a different guild, and it was a much more hardcore raiding guild, and it was I didn't find it to be that fun because it was so job like and so methodical and so just like, okay, you got a bat phone at 4 in the morning, we expect you online, kind of deal. And I'm not for that. I like to play the game because it's fun, not because I have a job to do. Um, a, you know, a set job to do. Like I am a mana batter. That's what I do. That's all I do.
So
I just
do you remember the name of the guild?
yeah, it was Azure Guard.
As your guard?
And
Because there's go ahead.
Oh, and then I joined an offshoot of that guild called Blood Guard, which was much more casual, and I really enjoyed that. Became an officer of that guild, and helped with that. And that was really a guild I enjoyed, Blood Guard.
What were the main guilds? What were the high level rating guilds at that time?
At that time, I think it was Tempest, Vanquish, or maybe they're one and the same. Maybe I think Tempest might be an offshoot of Vanquish, or vice versa. There was Core. There was Kittens Who Say Meow. There was the biggest one.
Was Inglorious Bastards a thing yet?
They were a thing. I'm not sure at that time, but they were definitely a thing later.
SEAL Team were they there?
SEAL Team's a green server guild. Back when this was before green server was even live. We were on blue server at the time.
Oh, okay.
And then there was, I think the biggest guild was Riot. Riot was the biggest guild, I think.
When did you start on Green?
On green, I started when it launched. So whenever that server launched, I started a character, and yeah. So I've been playing green ever since then.
So I want to take a page out of Zaid's Drama Quest podcast, which I want to, if anyone listening, highly recommend. If you're into this and you're still listening up to this part far, you'll freaking love Drama Quest. The reason this podcast exists is because there's not enough Drama Quest episodes to sate my appetite. So I'm taking a page out of Zaid's book, and I want to ask you, can you tell me from your experience what the history of the Project 1999 Green server was for you? What were you seeing happening from launch day to, and did you play through the course up until now? Have you always kind of been present on the server?
So when it launched, it was such an influx of new people, level ones, that it was very hard to do anything at first. It was just like crazy. And so what I did was I found a niche quest that not many people knew about to get equipment. It was a rat quest. It's in the Caledon. So what you do is you kill these robotic rats and you loot a card, and the card is lore. And then you bring the card to a island in the Ocean of Tears, give it to some dwarf, and he gives you a random piece of loot. It could be a chain, a bronze, or it could be like a magical circlet. And I did that from levels like 1 to 4. And then when I stopped getting experience, I continued on to keep getting gear to be a little bit ahead of the curve than other people. But in doing that, people were already like level 30 by the time I was done doing what I was doing. So, but then, most of the camps were cleared out for like level 4s to level 15. So that's how I did my stuff. I got some gear first, whatever I could get. And then I went on to try to level. The server was very crazy, very competitive. On Project 1999, there are no instances. Everything's live, everything's together. So if a character pulls a mob you want, you don't get it first to engage, you lost it. And so it was just a constant competition for mobs. Um, I actually stopped playing and took a break after about a week or two because I just found the server to be too competitive for me to have any fun. People get pretty nasty. It's a great community, but people get nasty when stuff's on the line like that, and everyone's trying for server first, and they're trying to get the Mana Stone or the Mask of the Betrayer or whatever it's called. Legacy items that disappear after a certain patch that become valuable by like 1 million plat by a year into the server's life cycle. So I wanted to do that stuff too, but I couldn't know life it enough at the time to do it. I had too many things going on. I was still working for the family business, and I just didn't have the time to be online for 12 hours a day with a new baby, and you know what I mean. So that's where it was at for me. I took I'd say a 3 or 4 month break, waited until the guilds were established, and then I joined a guild, played for a while. The guild I joined was a bit too competitive for my taste. They expected a lot. They expected us to pay something like 500 to 600 plat a month to be in raid status, which is something I've never heard of in any guild. So that really rubbed me the wrong way. Um,
Why'd you
and
join
yeah,
them? Who were they?
they're a kingdom. I joined Kingdom for about a month,
What
and
made you want to join?
well, I wanted to do the content. I wanted to try to get ahead of Kunark and get known, get my reputation built, so that maybe when the time came, I'd have enough to be a white scale for the epic. But that requires a lot of effort and time on your part. It requires you to be basically completely um, subservient to the guild's needs and the guild's wants, and to go wherever they tell you to go and play the way they tell you to play. Do whatever role they tell you to do. I don't like playing that way. I want to be able to play whatever character I want, whenever I want, within reason. So it just wasn't the guild for me. And so I took a long break, like I said, came back, I was guildless for a long time, and then I got my bard to about 56 without a guild when I came back. Joined Nova, and actually no, I joined Nova pretty early. I joined Nova in my 30s. Now that I think about it, I joined Nova in my 30s and slowly built my reputation that way within the guild. And um, they said, "Hey, you should be an officer." Or one of the officers said that, and I said, "Yeah, I mean, I would if anyone wanted me to." And they said, "Yeah, come on, join the team." And I've joined, and it's been a blast ever since.
But I remember you having your epic before the current times with Nova.
Oh, I did. On Blue server, I had my Bard's Epic. On Greed server, I don't.
Oh, okay. So you'd accomplished all that stuff in Blue server with
On Blue server,
which guild?
with Bloodguard, and my character's name was Rhymenoceros.
The great Rhymenoceros. That's right.
Rhymenoceros, yeah.
Okay, and so now this brings us to current time with Green Nova. You fell into a leadership role, and you're playing for the reasons you stated earlier, because of the
Correct.
way, just for the sake of play itself.
Yes. For the community and just the sake of playing the game, I just love the game so much. I love the artwork. I love the lore. I love the backstory behind how it was made. I love the community. I love the classes. Each class feels like its own thing. Each class feels like they should feel. If you're playing a necromancer, it feels like a necromancer. If you're playing a bard, it feels like a bard. It's not, a mix and mash thing. Each class has a role. Some have multiple roles, but there's still roles that need to be filled within the game structure. And so you need every class. There's nothing left on the table, no scraps left on the table. I couldn't tell you which class was the weakest because they all have their strengths.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, and they all
Uh,
feel very different.
why do people play warriors?
I think
How do people play warriors?
I think being playing a warrior comes from the satisfaction of being able to be needed, to be necessary, to feel like,
Are
oh
they though? I feel like
yes,
Shadow
on P
Knights
on P99 they are necessary for sure because
because
they're dis
why?
they're disciplines. Their disciplines are crucial.
They have disciplines in Velius era?
They do. They have disciplines, and also warriors. Their equipment can hold more aggro, I think, and their taunts are way better. Shadow. There's a reason why you don't see Shadow Knights or Paladins maintaining raid content on P99. It's because warrior is the best you can get, and the disciplines that they have are crucial to taking some of those crazy attacks from someone like, Statue of Rallo Zek or Inaruk, or actually Inaruk's not that bad, but or just some of those rampage targets, some of those enraged targets. They quad for 500s, and you need those disciplines. You need a succinct and cohesive complete heal chain from 5 clerics to do that content. So yeah, it's just the way the game plays out in itself. You can try different things, but once you fix something that works, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. So warriors are completely. I don't know how it is for Planes of Power or other expansions,
It's
but
still
for
the same.
Velius era, okay, for Velius era, warriors are completely necessary.
So somebody who decides to play a warrior just has to be bored out of their mind for 50 levels or 60 levels.
I mean, there's pleasure in being the tank. I mean, people like being a tank, and also as a tank, a lot of the times the guild leaders are warriors.
But
They're
I've
playing the warrior.
they've never I mean I've only really got TLP experience, Mischief and Teak, and
Way different.
every single time I've had a warrior in my group, I've always wished it was either a paladin or a shadow knight. They've all those have always performed better at holding aggro in the group play from 0 to 60.
For group content, I would agree with you up to about 58. I'd say Shadow Knight or Paladins do hold aggro very very adequately at group content at those levels. Um, I also got to say the TLP servers and the live servers are just way easier. They're just easier in the mob health. They've done something to the game where things are easier. Like I could solo on my monk in that game all the way to 60, no problem, no issue, without a fun guy, without. I did end up getting those things, but I just remember feeling, wow, I'm so powerful. It's way different than P99. Maybe the skill caps are different. Maybe the damage tables are different. I don't know, but it felt so much smoother and easier and less complicated than P99. P99 has a very um, steep challenge level when it comes to soloing and all those things. Mobs just seem tougher. AC isn't as effective. Health is king on P99, not AC. You want more health. You want to focus on your HP than your AC. It might be a bug in the game's content. It might be the way that Classic was, and they found evidence of it. I've never really looked into it. But AC is not worthless, but it doesn't do nearly as much as it does on the progression screen.
Whoa, is that a cigar clipper?
No, no, that's just me flipping my knife. Knife.
Just flipping your knife.
Flipping my knife.
Old army habits, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so my current, so where let's end with where we're at today. Today, so I'm in a nice, I've entered into a somewhat congruent or I like what's going on with my EverQuest play right now. I log in for raids when I want to raid. I like to do it once a week, just schedule once a week to go be around the guys and gals and just have fun and just turn my brain off and follow the raid leader's orders. I like to just
Yeah.
follow. So, and it's great because 3 weeks ago, as you know, world record holder, we cleared Plains of Power.
You've done it.
We've done it, dude. I mean, 29 hours in this chair, bro. I mean,
That's crazy.
I'm so like, it was such an amazing experience. It was
I don't think
miserable.
I could do that. Yeah, I
It
don't think
was
I could do that.
miserable,
That
dude.
sounds miserable.
But it was so, I mean, the place I went to, watching what the mine did, like it was, and then like, I don't know, it was so challenging, but it was like worth it. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
To do that.
There's great satisfaction behind it once it's over.
Yeah. And I'm just so proud of us, but like, anyway, so it's nice now because what the thing I wanted to do that I missed last time on Planes of Power was like because of the guild that I'm in, they're kind of they're hardcore in the sense like they're gonna get everything done, but they're casual friendly.
Yeah.
And last time I was in Planes of Power, I didn't get to see all the gods and all the zones, and I really like the experience of adventuring through each tier of zone and god and clearing them was just so cool. I never thought I'd be able to see all the stuff.
Yeah, you're making me want to do that. I just know that that era of content, when P99 exists, I know that I'm just going to slip back to this server because I have so many relationships here, and I'm an officer and things like that. That like I'm committed to P99, but I am interested in all that stuff. I really do want to see that content someday. Maybe I'll go on the next iteration of Faceless if you guys do it again.
Yeah, the hopefully or I've always wanted to have a guild too, like, but I don't know if I could ever. I don't know
It's
how you
hard.
do it. I don't know how you can do leadership. I don't know how any of these guys can be leadership in guilds. It's a dream of mine, but I don't know how it works or how you have the time to do it.
It's for a casual rating guild, it's not so bad. I get to schedule the content we want to do, and I talk to the team and see what time works best for everybody, and then I just make sure I can be there. We do raid content maybe 2 or 3 times per week. It's completely doable. Usually at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so it's all night. I can take tell my wife, hey, I got this going on, I can do it, and she's much cooler with that than me just being on the game consistently. And on those nights, I'll take a break from the game until that evening, so I can not make her mad. But what I'm doing on the game right now is, as I said, I'm in a guild called Nova. My bard is named Questin. He's level 60. I'm an officer, and so we're scheduled right now. We're doing KO Drakal Arena. It's the holidays. It's double loot. So tonight we're doing that. Our goal is to go into the Plane of Hate in January and start doing Sky in January and building our clerics up, building our enchanters up, building up our team, our mages, our wizards, building everybody up so that one day we can go to do more Kunark content, compete against the other guilds that are massive, and maybe take some targets from them as a smaller group. That's kind of what we're doing.
A ragtag group of competitive agents out there on the field of
It's
play.
going to be difficult, and we got to pick our targets wisely, but we're going to be able to cause a dent, I think, in the next coming months. If you are interested in Project 1999 and you want to join a nice group of people who are chill, who have real lives, who do the content as they feel they can, and just build relationships, please contact me in game on P99, and we will get you in Nova, and we will definitely have a great time.
Look who it is.
Eli.
Hey, buddy. You want to say hello? Good
Yes,
morning.
sir.
Speaking of real life, it is now calling.
It's calling me too. I got to get going as well, man.
Can you see the screen?
Let me see. Oh, hey, guy. There's the man.
You did a good job, but you can't see him. I'm talking to Alex. Oh, let you say hello. There you go. He can hear you now.
Eli, what's up, my dude? How are you, my best buddy? It's good to see you, man. I miss you. That soft head of yours. Softest hair in the east.
You got to ask him in the mic. Say, what are you doing?
Hey, buddy, I'm talking to your big paw, your old man.
Well, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining, Questin. Nova's the guild on P99. If you're interested in joining, send Questin a message, or I'll put a link in there for the Discord. I don't know how do y'all use Discord?
We do, yeah, we do.
So it'll probably be easier to get in contact on Discord.
Yeah, I can give you the my Discord name. I don't want to give out the server, but I can give out my name, and if you're really interested, I can help you get the game set up. I can help you make a character. I can help you do all those things, give you some starter gear, all that stuff. I want more people playing always, to experience with me. If you don't with us, and if you don't stick around, that's fine too, man. I understand it's not for everybody, but we'd love to see you here.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being the first guest on EverQuest XP. And hopefully we'll have more episodes with some more guests coming soon.
I hope to return. I would love to come back and talk to some of your guests, maybe, or participate in any way I can. And it was a great conversation, man.
Appreciate it. Yeah. See you later.
All right, dude. See you later. I can't wait to see it up.
All right, man. Oh,
later, bro.
Pictures. Yeah. I need screenshots.
I'll send you one now.
Good man.
All right. See you, bro.
Bye.